Afrocentricity is about you. Everything about you. It's your belief, it's your identity, it's your origin, it's your community, it's about your future, it's about your destiny, it's the colors you lack, it's the art you appreciate, it's the music of our people, it's your culture at the center of the universe, it's your soul. That's what Afrocentricity is about. It's about your agency, your ability and willingness to take action in the interest of African people. That's what this is fundamental. Brother Mamadou, you understand this? This is very key. If you don't have that, if you are not willing to take your own agency, then you have failure. And one of the problems, of course, with the Halifax community was it wasn't strong enough to say, you know what, we will create an Afrocentric Learning Institute ourselves. We don't need the government. That's why when we created this institute, we said we don't want the government involved. We will do this. We will sacrifice to do this. Black people can do this. It is not, there's no miracle to it. It's hard work and sacrifice. You can do it. So that's the way you have to think if you're going to be self-determining. And self-determination is one of the keys of Afrocentricity, as you will see. It's one of the keys to the other two concepts that we want to talk about. To be Afrocentric, therefore, is to understand the power of African culture. But it means that to understand the power of African culture, you must read. You must read and study African culture. You can't just say, I believe in African culture. You don't know African culture. You got to know something about it. You have to know what are the fundamental concepts? What are the fundamental values? How do African people think about this or that? What do they think about relationships? What do they think about life, about death, about destiny? What's the African worldview? What's any African's worldview? This is fun. If we do that, then we will know something about Africa. That's because I say it's infinite. What we need to know is infinite. We will never know everything. We will never know it all. We will never finish knowing Africa. In fact, what we have forgotten, what we have lost even, could fill more than 10 libraries of Congress. What we've forgotten. Can you imagine that? Just what we have forgotten. Stuff that we don't even know anymore. But there are languages that no longer exist because of the slave trade. There are many African ethnic groups. The total population is gone. And so all the music of that particular language is gone. All the proverbs of those people, gone. All of their notions of philosophy about the cosmos, all that's gone. So we have lost or have forgotten so much more than we ever know or ever could know. So we have to be in search of it, though. That's important. I don't mean now that we have just lost information about Kemet, because of course we have concentrated a lot on Kemet, and we should, because Kemet is a significant civilization, one of the greatest, if not the greatest civilization in antiquity. But about more recent African history and culture. Take the Congo, for example. After King Leopold, you know the story of King Leopold. King Leopold of Belgium, under the leadership of somebody, rather he put in leadership somebody named Henry Stanley, who systematically wiped out 10 million people in the Congo. This was before the Jewish Holocaust. They wiped out 10 million people. They cut off the hands of people who would not go to work and get rubber from the rubber trees. If they came to you and said, look, you got to go and get rubber from the rubber trees, you say, no, I don't do that. I don't do rubber. I do potatoes. I mean, I do something else. But cut your hand off. And you had all these Congolese people with no hands. Just cut their hands off, you see. This was Henry Stanley. This is a part of our history. Let me just tell you a little bit, because you need to know this. Henry Stanley and King Leopold, the person who was one of their biggest supporters was a man by the name of Sanford. It's the same Sanford who started the city of Sanford, Florida. Wow. He was a big American plantation owner, and he was King Leopold's buddy. And and this time they were very much in awe of just the power of Henry Stanley. And I mean, this was after the Civil War in the South, in the American South. But in the 1880s and 1890s, this was the heyday of these huge farms that were where the sharecroppers and all of that. And Sanford was big in that. He was one of the big people in that. And also he was big in railroad building in the South. But one of the interesting things that he did was he was at the Berlin Conference. He was one of the American observers. The U.S. had observer status at the Berlin Conference in 1884 and 85. When they divided Africa up, the European nations, they sat down at a big table and they looked at a map of Africa, and England said, I want that, give me that river. Then Germany said, give me that mountain. And they just divided the whole continent up. That's why we got the continent divided up the way it is. Europe did that in 1884 and 85. Africans didn't do that. Africans didn't sit down and say, okay, Senegal should be this size. That was decided by Europe. And the French took most of Africa. They took at least a larger portion. They took 37% of the whole continent went to France. About 33% went to England. They were just dividing up the continent among themselves. And we didn't even know anything about it. We were still in Africa, just doing our business. Didn't know that back in Berlin, on the Unter den Linden, that the people were there dividing us up and saying they're going to be in control of us. That we had no idea of that. So Sanford was involved in that. But the thing is that what this covered was the fact that they were in the heart of one of the greatest civilizations of Africa, the Congo Empire. This is a story that has yet to be fully told. You know, at the capital of, and you can get this in actually in the Encyclopedia of African Religion, we talk about different philosophies of Africa. Dr. Mazama and I, we collected about 400 people wrote for the Encyclopedia of African Religion. And one of the things is that when you start reading and looking at these philosophies, this amazes you. The capital of Mbanza, Congo, was called Mbanza, M-B-A-N-Z-A, Mbanza, Congo. Our ancestors of the Congo, because we have ancestors from many parts of Africa, but from that part, the Almighty God was called Nzambi Mpunga. Nzambi Mpunga, the great Almighty God. That was what it means. Nzambi Mpunga. Nzambi Mpunga, Almighty God. Now, this is where the concept among the Congo people of the Minkizi came into being. Minkizi. The Minkizi, the idea of Minkizi is something like the Yoruba's notion of the Orisha. And the Minkizi govern everything. So let me put it this way. You know how we sometimes say that God is so great and that God made the universe and so forth? Well, the African people believe that God made the universe, but that God is not active daily in your life. God is too remote and too powerful for that. God is the creator of the cosmos. So what God has done in the African concept is to provide certain powers and spirits on the earth to take care of everything you need. If you need agriculture, there is a deity to take care of agriculture. If you need something else, there's something to take care of health. Whatever you need, all these things are, they call Menkisi. Menkisi. Minkisi. Menkisi. Then, of course, they're similar to the Orishas and similar to the Lords. Are y'all getting a little hot in here? Is it right? Because I don't want y'all to go to sleep on me. Okay, right? Okay. I mean, I'm going to bring it on down. So the notion, but this is very important for us to understand what we've lost. That's all I'm saying about, because Afrocentricity is you begin to try to find out all you can about yourself. Yes. That's what you try to do. That's the only way you can do it. And I used to sit in classes, and in Georgia, I used to sit in classes and say, boy, if I knew what our people thought about this room, I would wonder, how would they create this room? What if we use our own creativity and we didn't use the white people's designs or frames of references or colors, and we just use African colors and African design? It was a question that used to run through my mind. If the world could be created differently, based on our traditions, on our historical events. And I always tell the story, and people like this, that I was once driving in Europe and I didn't know where to find something to eat. And I saw a restaurant, and I couldn't even read the language on it, but I knew that it was a Chinese restaurant. And how I knew it was a Chinese restaurant because of the motifs, the designs you see on it. And they didn't even have to say, this is a Chinese restaurant. Even if they said it, I couldn't have read it anyway. But I knew that was a Chinese restaurant. You can eat there. That's what I said. Where is it in Africa that I can do that? Where is it in Africa, America, that I can look at a building or I can look at a place and say, those African Americans there. Be happy, be satisfied. I know that's my people. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Where is it? But even in the fried chicken joint, you don't know. It may be Popeye. You don't know what you're looking at, because we don't have a Harriet Tubman up there. We don't have a Nat Turner up there. We don't have the images, the motifs that come out of our culture there. Sometimes we have red, black, and green. Then I know. When I see red, black, and green, I do know. You see? So the motif is important. And that's what Europe has always been able to do. They tell you don't do any ancestral reverence because that's bad. And everywhere they do ancestral reverence. You just drive along Kelly Drive. That's all you have to do. Kelly Drive, you got statues everywhere. Anyone you want to know. They give you even the names of the streets. They let you know who their ancestors are. That's because they reverence their ancestors. And they tell you, don't do it. And you don't do it. No, you have to. As H. Rap Brown used to say, if they tell you that, you got to do the opposite.
That's right.
Yeah, we have to do the opposite. In the Americas, when it came to America, particularly in South America, the notion of the Menkisi was merged with the notion of the Orisha. And in fact, in Haiti, they call them Loas, L-O-A-S, Loas. And these were merged into the personification of the spiritual powers that African people possess. Limba, L-E-M-B-A, Limba. This is the concept of the healer among the Congo people. Limba in Brazil and Cuba was compared to Jesus and to Obatala. So that you had, so the people, the Congo people, in fact, Robert Farris Thompson says in his book, The Flash of the Spirit, most black Americans, we think we came from Nigeria, but we came from the Congo. That's what he says. Not all of us, but he says the largest portion of blacks in America are Congo. It's because we don't speak French that we don't know that. Because if we spoke French, we'd be right in line with that understanding, you see. But since we don't speak French, we don't know where we came from. Angola, and we came from Congo. Angola right next door, and Congo right next door. And Congo people lived in Angola. That's all a part of it. That's why there are places in Georgia called Angola. Yeah, there are places in Georgia, in Angola. Many of the Congolese names are in Georgia and South Carolina. Many of the swamps are named, and rivers are named, creeks are named for the Congo people. You see. So these powers, the flow of the essentials of Congo philosophy was never really interrupted. There's a brother named Bunseki Fukao. He says that the Congo oriented even the Veve. You know the Veve? Anybody know the Veve? Anybody raise your hand, Veve? Okay. See, I told you this stuff we don't know about. There's the Veve. Wow, there's the Veve. The Veve is a yeah. Who said that? He's my best student. He's my best student tonight. Brother Randolph, we give you an 8 for that. Brother, the Veve is a drawing, the spiritual drawing, and these spiritual drawings were done in Africa long before they were done in the Americas. They were done in Africa. The African people did them, and we had an understanding and an appreciation of these things, you see. It was a very, very powerful concept. And in fact, the Veve, and these are drawings, they draw them actually in the sand in Haiti. But these Veve were not just spiritual, they were also philosophical. That's the key. There is, and I don't know the whole, let me just see if I can give you what one example of this would be. I'm not a good drawer. My students in Metanet, you know that. For the rest of y'all, you just have to know, no, I'm not a good drawer, right? But and then you repeat this one, you put it in a circle, and the Congo people say that is the course of our natural existence. That's deep. I said, boy, that's deep. Explain that to me. You know what I mean? But but I'm just saying to you that we had philosophies. We had the names of the Almighty long before anybody else. Oh, yeah. These were our base. We did that for the world. Yes. We're not. Sometimes we say that the first humans were Africans. That's true. Right. But we were not just the first humans. We just came into existence. That's it. We were also the first civilizers of the earth. The first people to understand the nature of metal and deal with metallurgy, with philosophy, with astronomy, with naming the days of the week, and with crossing rivers, with engineering. We're the first people to do that. There were no other people except Africans 70,000 years ago. 70,000 years ago, everybody in the world lived in Africa, basically. And if they went somewhere else, they came out of Africa. You see? So it's very fundamental to understand that, this flow. So what is Afrocentricity? I'm going to be finished with this in a minute. It's not just a concentration on this or that philosophy. It is a representation of all philosophies of Africa. It is not hatred for white people. It is not just being interested in black people. That's a beginning, but it must be deeper than that. You know, just to be interested in black people that's not it. That's just a beginning. So That's what I'm gonna end on Afrocentricity with that. I mean, of course, it's much deeper. I'll give a lecture maybe later in the fall on Afrocentricity in a deeper sense, but just for tonight, I want to do that. Now, let me go quickly with black nationalism. Those who make definitions say this, that black nationalism advocates a commitment to ethnic and cultural identity, self-definition, African unity, self-determination, intense critical sense of justice, and a fervent desire for independence. By using the term, now here's a little thing I'm going to do tonight for the interest of my audience here at Philadelphia, to say in Philadelphia we're going to make an advance. By using the term black nationalism, we have misrepresented the thinkers and the great power of their philosophies. I will cease to use this term, black nationalism. Because black nationalism has allowed many people who consider themselves to be majority thinkers, including black thinkers who think they're majority thinkers, to marginalize black people who we say are black nationalists. Put them on the side. Well, he's just a black nationalist. No. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to participate in that. That's not because and the people who are given the philosophies are actually philosophers. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to be talking on Wednesday, 2 places, the Bloxham Institute at 2 o'clock, I think, and at 6 o'clock at the Historical Society. I'll be giving a lecture on Martin Delany. Martin Delany, who we normally call the father of black nationalism. But as Brother Randolph knows, and Brother Ralph, and all my sisters who are in my class know, you can always change things. You can change things if you think deeply enough about them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we've with Sister Suzette and Sister Yafa, we've been thinking deeply about these issues. That naming changes. How do you change things? Let me put it this way. Delany was not a black nationalist. He was a believer and the founder of a school of thought, a believer in and founder of a school of thought that is called transformative identity. Transformative identity. That was his philosophy. That your identity, that if you look into your identity, you can transform yourself. Transformative identity. So the believer, the great believer that he was, the great thinker that he was, allowed him to be this transformative man. So I don't call him a black nationalist because I know say black nationalist is, oh yeah, he just believes in black people and so on. But the concepts, when you talk about self-definition, self-determination, independence, passion for justice, a passion of belief in Africa as the destiny of African people, when you think about that, that's about changing your identity. Why did he come up with that? How did he come to that sense? He came to that sense of realization because of the condition of black people that he saw. He was looking around him. This was in the 1850s. He was looking in the 1840s. He was looking around and looking at the condition of black people. He said, wait a minute. You don't need to depend on the white man. You don't have to depend on the white man. Who are you? This is why we asked the question, who are you? It was because Delany asked it. He says, I'm a black man. Frederick Douglass thanks God that God made him a man, but I thank God that he made me a black man. That's what Delany said. So he said, I'm a man, I'm a black man. And so people start putting the label on him. He's a black nationalist. You know, they just want to scare white people, you see? He said, no, man, I believe in transformative identity. I have to accept my identity. This is my reality. I'm an African. And as an African, I accept it. And so this school of thought believed that we were the equal to any other human beings, and that we had the right, and if we had the will to do it, we can do anything we wanted to do, but we would have to fight for it. Our aim was to transform ourselves and our identities. So let me go quickly to Pan-Africanism, because I know y'all want to hear Obama. We'll get to Obama in a minute. All right. I won't be too long. Pan-Africanism. The idea that African people should be united and that there should be freedom by any means necessary. I'm taking this from Malcolm's speech. In 1964, on his way from Mecca, Malcolm stopped in Nigeria, and he was at the Ibadan University of Ibadan in Nigeria, and he gave a speech. And basically what he called for was that we should have a United States of Africa, that Africa should be united, and that we should support all the freedom fighters, that it was essential that we supported the freedom fighters. And even though this was an idea that had seen some of its power from H. Sylvester Williams, the Trinidadian who had started in 1900 the Pan-African Conference in London, it got its main source from Du Bois. Most people say it was Du Bois because we look at the 5 congresses that he had. In the 1919 Congress, and then the greatest one that he had was 1945. Actually, this is the one where Kwame Nkrumah figured very importantly at that Congress. So it was a very powerful Congress, that Manchester Congress. And remember, the 1919 one was coming right after the First World War, the First International European War, and the 1945 was coming at the Second European International War. And the Africans thought that this was a good opportunity to take advantage of Europe to reassess and to understand the meaning of the world, how the geopolitical structure was being set up. So that's why we have Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism is a deeper concept than that, of course, and it's a political level, it's at a spiritual level, it's at a level of material, the material reality of what exists in the African world. We can look at it many different levels about Pan-Africanism, but the whole idea is that African people ought to be united. That's why we created Afrocentricity International. And that's an organization that is starting in Philadelphia, it's starting in Paris, it's starting in Cote d'Ivoire, it started in Benin, it started in Nigeria, started in South Africa. We need to have more chapters here. You need 7 people. That's all you need. You can find 7 people, like-minded people who are interested in the rise of African consciousness. You can get a charter. You can be a charter member. You can have your charter. You can start your organization, and you can participate in this grand awakening. Because what we're trying to do is, since the AARP, or rather no, the All African People's Revolutionary Party, we have not had a strong international African group. UNIA was the last real strong one. So we're trying to recreate that internationally, globally. The Afrocentricity International, we need as many chapters as you guys are willing to create. We're willing to support those chapters, and we're doing that. Okay, so that's with it's a Pan-African vision, the rise of the African continent. And now let me talk a little bit about Obama, and then I'll be finished. We can take some questions if necessary. Wow. Now, Afrocentricity, so-called black nationalism, Pan-Africanism, Obama. Okay. There are some, to be honest with you, let me just say this. Let me say this. Obama is the smartest president that we have ever had. And secondly, I like the fact that Obama became president of the United States of America with an African name.
Yes.
I like that.
Right.
To me, that's powerful.
Yes.
Because I know many brothers and sisters say to me, man, if I change my name, I won't get a job. The man is president of the United States of America with an African name. So, I mean, what are you talking about? If I don't change my name, this way. No, he's not Jesse Jackson. That's not his name. His name is Barack Obama, and he has an African name, and it was accepted. People voted him in office, right? Okay, now, at least a small majority voted him in office. But there's some glaring holes in the Obama administration in terms of Afrocentricity, black nationalism, and Pan-Africanism. If you go back and you look at the 2008 presidential election, several things come to mind. Well, there's one very big one, and that is, and other people have mentioned this before me, that 96%, this is how the black vote, we went 96% for Barack Obama. I don't think ever in the history of elections in America has any one group voted that much for one candidate. 96% of all the black people who voted for Obama. 96% of the black vote. Y'all don't even get it. That's almost 100%. And if you have 100 people in the room, 96 of them voted for Obama. And yet, he has fewer black people in his administration than George Bush.
Really?
It's deep. 9.
Got him, you don't need the rest.
Dr. Mathers, that may be the point. You got one black man, he stands for everybody else, right? Okay. And it was an African name. That's what I'm telling you, right? It's some contradictions in American society. Black women have been President Obama's greatest and most passionate supporters. And I think because of Michelle.
Yes.
And her family. Perhaps also because he identifies, he said, I'm black American. But yet, there were 2 judgeships for the Supreme Court up. The brother did not even interview a black lawyer or judge who was a female. Not one of the sisters were called from the bench to say, even if you were not going to appoint her or push for her, you remember Bill Clinton and Lonnie Grenier. You remember that situation. At least Obama could have feigned that way. Okay, let's talk to her, interview her. Even though I know she won't get through, but it's a public opportunity for showing us which way your hand is, right? We don't get that. This would have been a great opportunity for the president to highlight the capability of black women. In 2011, President Obama told Congressional Black Caucus, the CBC, take off your bedroom slippers. Put on your marching shoes. Shake it off. Stop complaining. Stop grumbling. Stop crying. We're going to press on. We've got work to do, CBC. A week earlier, when he spoke to the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, he told them about legislation that he was trying to pass to assist them. One was the DREAM Act. Some of them still complained, but he did not tell them to stop complaining. A month later, he told the gay rights group, the Human Rights Campaign, he told them about how he was going to repeal. He said, I repeal, don't ask, don't tell. And he told them about how he was going to mandate hospital visitation rights for same-sex couples. He did not think to tell them, stop complaining. Okay, that's one. Now look at the African policy. Libya. It's a great tragedy. An African, a black president bombs an African country more than Reagan bombed it. killed more people than Reagan killed in an African country. These are facts. I'm just going over these facts with you. In Cote d'Ivoire, our government, and maybe this is bad advice. I'm not, I first of all, let me tell you, so y'all won't get upset. I'm going to vote for Obama over Romney. But I got to tell you this. You got to know this, though. You have to understand. Now I'll tell you why. But you got to understand this. These are the facts. In Cote d'Ivoire, he went along with Sarkozy, who was just voted out of office yesterday in France, a real racist. Obama sided with Sarkozy against the legitimate Pan-African president of Cote d'Ivoire, Gbagbo. And he sided with Ouattara. This is a fact. They killed hundreds, maybe thousands of people in Cote d'Ivoire. And this is the support of the American government. And that's why I say I don't trust the sister who is in the United Nations. I don't trust the brother who is in charge of African affairs. They both weak. They don't understand what's going on in the geopolitics of the world. And they have been against the interests of the African continent. And the worst to me is what they have done to Zimbabwe. I don't understand why there's still sanctions against the government of Zimbabwe. Nobody can explain that. They said to Mugabe, okay, if you let the opposition party come in and work, get a good government, we'll take the sanctions off you. Well, he did that. They didn't remove the sanctions. The America says, no, I'm going to keep the sanctions on you. Basically, the idea is to squeeze this African nation until they beg for mercy. Mugabe will never beg for mercy. But that's the idea of the American government. You see what I mean? So, but Obama is the head of this government. Hillary Clinton, is in charge of the Department of State. They could change this policy. But they don't want to change this policy, you see. And so what does it do? It hurts the interests of African people at home. People are starving, not because Mugabe is a bad president. They're starving because they can't get foreign exchange, because the American government has shut down all the markets for them in terms of the banks. We've done that to that nation, that poor little nation, because that nation, you know what it did? What Zimbabwe did? It said to the white people who had stolen the land of the black people, it said to them, no more, it's over. You will steal no more land from here, and the land that you stole is going to go back to the rightful owners. And Britain said to America, look, you got to support us on this. We can't support Mugabe. We got to bring him down. Even if they did what they did, giving $15 to $20 million to an opposition party. This is illegal in America, I think. You can't give, no foreign government can come to America and give the Republicans or the Democrats $15 million to win an election, or $100 million. You can't do that. But what we did with that little country, Zimbabwe, found a group of black people, a group of Negroes, and we said to that group of Negroes, we'll give you $15 million if you go against Mugabe. And that's what they did. And they still lost, because the people are with Mugabe. Look at this. Recently, I can go through so much. In Americas, Colombia, Brazil. In Colombia, I'm not talking about the sex scandal with the Secret Service, but I'm talking about the fact that in Colombia, 30% of the people are black in Colombia, but it seems like the Obama government doesn't know that. So they're doing dealings with the white leaders of the government from Bogota, and these are people who are basically oppressing hundreds of thousands, millions of black people who live in the Choco region and in the Buenaventura and Cali and those regions of the country, the Pacific side. Where they were the Atlantic side. But on the Pacific side, 98% of the people in Choco are black. Obama never went over there. He's never gone over there. His people, they don't know about that. But I went over there, and I saw the people. And the people asked me, why is America making deals with Colombia, the government of Colombia? And so they don't understand that. But if you got people in the administration, in Obama's administration who don't know the internal politics of these countries. They make terrible decisions. And they made a terrible decision in Colombia. But that's another story, too. Let me tell you what the recent one, then I'm going to be bringing this to the end. Recently, we had the debate over the head of the World Bank. Now, you know how that works. The two main banks for development in the world are called the World Bank and the IMF. The IMF is the International Monetary Fund. Now, these are two main banks. Now, you know what the Europeans have done and the Americans, basically the white world, what they did was they divided those two banks among, the control of those two banks among themselves. They said, the Americans will always, an American will always be the president of the World Bank. It has to be an American. Most often the American male will be the white American male. Then they said, a foreigner, an international person from Europe, a European, not an Asian, not an African, will always be the head of the IMF. Always. So they had an opening for the World Bank this year. Our president can nominate somebody. Okay. Now look at this. African leaders who were dissatisfied with the arrangement, you have white male running the World Bank, you got a white male running IMF, they said, okay, you need to change that system. So Obama said, okay, well, I'll change the system. I'll appoint an Asian male to head the World Bank. Jim Kim, a Korean. I'll appoint him to head the World Bank, to succeed the World Bank President Robert Zoellick. Kim's strongest challenger was the finance minister of Nigeria, a black woman, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who is considered by everybody to be the brightest, the smartest intellectual genius on terms of banking and mathematics in the world today. This is a Nigerian woman. She's a minister of finance in Nigeria. She worked for the World Bank as deputy in the World Bank, deputy president. She's a very, very brilliant woman. But Russia and China and Mexico supported the United States and Kim. Ngozi was nominated by South Africa, and she was endorsed by all of the African members of the World Bank's board. The African Union endorsed her. Brazil endorsed her. The Economist, the country of Colombia, endorsed her. The New York Times even wrote a nice editorial in support of her. She's the smartest one. The Financial Times said yes, of London, said okay, yes. 39 former senior officials of the World Bank said this is the time for us to break with the white male thing, to break with the thing that it has to be in America. This is the time for the World Bank, which represents all the nations of the world, to appoint a black woman. The first black president with an African name, with African roots, is now being criticized by other Africans for not supporting the best qualified candidate for the job, an African woman. Now, Obama has been timid, to say the least, in delivering to black people. The rhetoric is good, the best we can get in this country, I guess, but the concrete actions are hard to come by. We cannot refuse to challenge him, though. This is what Jean-Bertrand Aristide said to me in South Africa years ago. When Anna and I were visiting in South Africa, we met with President Aristide and his wife Mildred, and I was telling him about the election of Obama and how difficult it's going to be for him. He said, but the black people in America must see to it that his hands are held to the fire, that he does the right thing. You have to do that, because if you don't do that, somebody else will hold his hands to the fire. You have to do it. And this is extremely important. So this is our history. We cannot refuse to challenge the first black president when he goes out of his way to ignore black people. Not just, he doesn't go out his way now not to speak to us. He speaks to us. He'll come and speak to our group. But the idea is that we must raise very important questions about what he is willing to deliver to us publicly, to show people that he's willing to do it. Now, I know all the answers. Y'all know them too.
Yeah.
This is his first term. That's one of them. He can't undo what Bush did in 8 years in one term. You know, I know that. The brother has a hard way to go. The Republicans won't let him do it. You know, I know that. But here's what we must know. No, I believe this. No American president can truly be an Afrocentrist. No American president can truly be a black nationalist.
No.
No American president can truly be a Pan-Africanist. These are contradictory roles. You see? And this is not, I'm not saying that's good or bad, because if you're president of the United States of America, that's a corporate position. And as a corporate position, that position is that you run a major enterprise. And that enterprise that you run may from time to time have to step on the shoes of Africans. That's the way that enterprise works. So let's accept him as we would. This is how I do. This is how I'm going to support him. Let's accept him as we would the best of two white candidates.
You got that right.
Yeah.
You got that.
There you go. I'm not like Cornell West. I'm not going to say down with the brother.
No.
My thing is this. I see two white candidates. One is a liberal.
Which one?
No. It's not hard to know which one is that when you start thinking about Romney. Now, I'm telling you. We got two white candidates. One is a liberal. I'm going to go with the liberal. I'm going to support the liberal. Let's accept him in that. I do not intend to campaign against Obama. In fact, I'll support him because although he has not done all that I think he can, or he should do, or could do, he's not injured us.
Yes.
I don't think. He has not injured us. I am not certain that I could ever say that about a white candidate who is strictly white candidate in the interest of white people. They will injure us.
Yes.
So what we can say, he has done no further harm. That's my position. Is that he has done no further harm. We have a discussion in a minute. But brother has done, and if you look at that, then you have a whole different situation. And I think that's basically my position is that I don't think he's Afrocentrist, and I don't think he's a Pan-Africanist, and I don't think he's a black nationalist. But I think that as a presidential candidate, he is the best of what we have got to choose from at this point. Now, you can also decide, I'm not going to vote. But if you decide you're not going to vote, you've made a decision. That is a decision already, you see. So, okay, hotel, thank you very much.